Hey guys, hope you had a good one with the last episode, which where we discussed about setting up the tab bubbles count, batch count using the notifications of Realm. And this one specifically is to actually show you how we can reimagine how we can use the interactors. So we were using protocols to define different functions, but then the problem there, not a problem, but then reusability is going for a toss there, because if you want to have a specific use case defined for one section, then you will have to again define it somewhere else. So as to avoid that, I'm trying to show you a different way of using interactors without the use cases as protocols, but with the use cases as tuples. So that is what we are, or what I am trying to show in this one. So let's get started with that too. So one of the things that we will start doing as soon as we start this one is to move our interactors to its own blocks. Let's say I have let me create a group here for the interactor, and I already have a couple of interactors. One is a home interactor. Ideally it should not be called an home interactor because it does not specifically serve its purpose only for the home section. It can even be used for, let's say, some other section. So we can rename it once we actually progress to a stage where we have more features available. So until then, I'm just keeping it as home interactor. And the second thing I'm going to do is to get rid of these use cases, the cart use case, all these protocols. We don't need this right now. We will use tuples instead. So let me show you that. I'm just removing things. So it might start giving me compilation errors, like here, first thing where we had used this as a protocol. So let's start imagining it as tuples right now. So what is a function that we have used here? It is update cart count, right? So what does it have? It is just this is get cart count. That is a function we have. That's my interactor, which is a closure, something like this. So if this was supposed to be a closure, let me just rename this to use case and create a type alias similar to a protocol. So what is a function that I need here? I need this function get cart count, cart count, which is of this specific type. So let me just keep it in a block, and then a void. So if I am making this as a tuple, I will not need many of these things. So that's pretty much done right now. That's okay. So it cannot have just one value within the tuple, so that's why I just have one more void one. So we got rid of that. It's still giving me cart use case. Instead it should be use case. Okay, so even I can call it as cart use case, but it's more like it's specific to tab bar. I don't need to call it as use case, so I'll just call it as use case because these are the use cases specific to tab bar. So I'll just, everywhere we can just name it as use case. So this is my use case here, and I have this function. So all that I need to do is, instead of this cart interactor, I can just pass something as a use case and call it as use case. So maybe I'll call it as tab bar presenter dot use case because it is being created here, and I already have an instance created of this. So I can just call this as use case. Compiles. Now all that I need to do is call this use case. That's it. It does not give me any exceptions, just that instead of the function definition within the protocols, we just made it as closure functions here, and named it, this made this tuple as name tuple, so that we can just call that function directly using this instance of tuple that we are maintaining. So that is the uh, rearrangement or the reimagining that I have done right now, where we're just getting rid of the use cases and then just using tuples as a way of passing your dependencies. The benefit is pretty evident. I can just show you that in a bit, where we will have a couple of interactors used where we will pass couple of functions from couple of different interactors and then inject those functions through this tuple as the dependencies. That way we are able to reuse the functions which are defined in multiple interactors. That is the only intention behind this reimagining things. So this is now an incorrect one. It's accepting a type of use case, so that's this type, tab bar presenter dot use case, so which is nothing but get card count as function, so which we already have. So all that we need to do is create that tuple structure here and then pass that function. So we already have this interactor dot get card count. So get rid of this, and then it should not give me, it should have one more value. That's the only reason it's giving me exception or error. See, now it's fine. So whatever we did is got rid of that. This is part of the same tutorials which we did, three separate episodes for tuples. This is where I was arriving at. This is the way we use tuples to inject our interactor functions so that it becomes reusable. Any number of interactors you create, you can pass any kind of functions to any module which you have defined. So that's what the intention, one of the intention of this was, and also to complete that configuring of the cells using the same approach. So now it should not give me an error. It should compile. Whatever we are doing right now is to get the card count, which we already have done. So right now we don't have anything. It should still work because it's more like rearranging things. It's still working. And so let's get rid of the other things as well, because you have the home interactor. In the presenter, again we have defined our interactor, so get rid of this. Let's just do another use case here. So what do we have as use cases? Home use case. If we are getting rid of this, we need to add these two functions. It is pretty easy, like rearrange again these things. We have a groceries closure which we need to use and add to cart. So clear this, compile, it will give you an error. Get rid of this. So interactor is pretty much intact right now. We have the functions available. Only thing is that interactor is as such is not, use cases are not there, so we need to do that right now. Let's call this as use case and type alias use case. What are the two functions we need, which we have used here? So again, it should be use case which we need to pass, and that use case should be home and presenter dot use case. So get groceries is one function and another one is add to cart. So I'll do some bit of magic here, where get groceries is one function which is a closure. It works like a closure. Let's go there to the interactor, cart interactor, it's here. Get groceries, completion block, it's pretty much good. Can maybe grab the whole thing. Come back here, closure, Okay, it should be. It's again that single element problem. So let's create the other one, which is add to cart. So actually this add to cart should move to the other side. That's what, let's do that right now, because it's part of the cart interactor. So we have to move this function there. So I'm just showing you how easy it is to manipulate our or inject our functions, even if after moving these things here. So add to cart is moved right now. It should work as is because the database injected is the same, just that it's using the cart DB again here. So that's only change. So get groceries is something, and add to cart is the next function, which is of type. Let's go back. SKU item. So you just need this part. And so it accepts a SKU item, returns nothing. Cannot create a single. Okay, this whole thing. What does it need? What did we define the other one? So tab bar presenter just had this and void. Okay, we don't need that completion, so we just get rid of that and instead use this use case instantiates use case, and everywhere we just replace it with use case. Should compile now. Value of optional type. Okay, let's see what all things need to be modified. Completion is not there, so get rid of that, and this is also not there. Slight modification, but overall it will work like this, and it should return value cannot convert to argument type grocery result. Okay, let's check that. Let's get rid of the other things here where it's accepting a use case. And it's not directly, we are not passing the interactor, but in turn we are passing the use case. I guess it's accepting these two, get groceries and this add to cart. Get groceries is one function which is coming from the, let's just call this home interactor, and we also need the other interactor. Let cart interactor, this is where reusability comes into picture. Cart interactor, it accepts the realm database, and so get groceries is within the home interactor. Get groceries, just need this function, and add to cart is the next function which is within the cart interactor function. Cart interactor, add to cart, remove this. So this is where the problem is. Let's go there and check what is it asking for. Grocery result void is returning void. Okay, here so a use case, what did we define? Grocery result and type void. And let's go back to our interactor and see home interactor. Okay, let's start from here. So this function is completion. This is the type, and it should return a type of void. So we just have one error. That's because add to cart we defined it as null, but it should return a bool type. Maybe that's the reason. Okay, so we have no compilation errors now. So let's see if something is broken or not right now. Works, it loads. So add to cart should work right now. That is also working. So that's redefinition. It was a little it's more like defining um, the closures is a little tricky, but if you get a hang of it, it's like simple. So that's pretty much what I did. I created a use case, and one trick we did is like we moved whatever was specific to the cart to the cart interactor itself. That's done, and home has just one function. So but in the home presenter we were able to inject two use cases coming from two different interactors. That is the achievement we did right now, where we could reuse those two functions. We had the home interactor and the cart interactor. Those two functions we were able to inject here. So this is a better way of actually handling, but both ways can work. Even you can define protocols as use cases and use it, or this is another way of doing it where you define these tuples and then pass those. So we did that. Let's just do something more where we have this problem where we're not able to show whatever is being already loaded. So for that, let's do something where what do we need? We need to fetch the cart item specific to an SQID and then bind or configure that value whatever we get from. So we already have something for that, but we are not using it. Let's say if we go to the grocery cell, we have a configure function which is accepting something called as add back view model. This view model name is not making much sense, so let me just rename it, because this is more like a cart value view model, where when the cart value is changing we need to configure this function, this back control using that value. So maybe we can modify it to refactor. Let me just refactor that to cart value. It's not even cart item, because when we go to add to cart and when we move to the cart section we might have to show different other values. So this is very specific to showing the cart value. So that's the reason I'm making it as cart value view model. So this is pretty much making more sense. Also, I'm just getting rid of this title because it's the same everywhere. So maybe we can just set that value here itself. Add to bag something so that I can get rid of this title. So which in turn will give me some more errors. Let's get rid of that as well. Just one more. Okay, that's pretty fine. So that's done. So that whatever we will do right now is we need to get this configured and we need to pass this. Instead of 0 we need to set the actual value to that control. For that let's create, we have this grocery item view model. Let's create one more property called cart value, which is a view model. Cart value view model, and then use that to set it. So it should be using the cart item. Cart item is the that's the one which is holding that value. The realm part of it is holding. So whenever we fetch it, we'll get it as a cart item instead of the realm cart item. We'll use that to configure this. So we can just use that. Let's say like self dot cart value equal to cart value view model, which is accepting the id, which is nothing but we can also get it from the cart item array, cart item SKU id, and the value from it. So we are configuring this based on the cart item. So it's giving already an error. So it is expecting now to accept a cart item. So this is where we will call that as soon as get groceries is done. Along with that, we'll also call the get cart item. Get cart item is something we will define right now in the use case, which will make a call to the database. So let's go to the interactor. We already have the interactor for cart. So we have the get cart count, but whatever we need is cart db. Let's go there and just define a function get cart item using SKUID, and it should return me the cart item. That's it, and should implement that. Okay, so use realm, and we just need to fetch it, so it's more like realm.objects realm cart item dot self dot first, where do the same trick SKUID equal to SKUID. So that will fetch me the object. So all that I can do is return this. If there is a value, return this, or else I can do some stuff like I can just return an empty one. So it's using the same SKUID and value of 0, does not have anything. So this is more like an optional thing. If you don't have anything, return this. What does it give me? Okay, I need to map it back to, because this is a realm object. So let's also do something. So we are not done yet. So this is actually let realm object equal to this. So if let's do this. Let's do a guard let realm object, or else return cart item, the empty one, SKUID and 0, else just return the cart item which is accepting our realm cart item. So just the realm object, you can just pass that and return that. So this is transforming our data. One thing is if it is nil, it is not existing, just return an empty one, or else return the transformed one. So that's what we do here. So I guess this is pretty much okay. We need an else here. I guess this is pretty much clear, nothing major here. Go back. So this is accepting one more param. That's what we need right now. So let's do that. So it is this is giving me a grocery object, right? So this is a grocery object, and I'm creating it as a grocery array. That's what I'm passing to update the database. So now I have in this grocery item view model, I have a cart value view model. That's what I will create right now. So all that I need to do is pass one more parameter here. So let's just do that. After this call gets within this, maybe, so it needs it. Within compact map I have a grocery item value. Maybe I just call it as grocery. That's again a grocery. So what I can do is I have the I did not create the use case. So let's create that. Go to cart interactor. Let's create a function called get cart item, passing SKUID and return the cart item. All that I need to do is database dot get cart item passing SKUID. So this is it should return. So it's anywhere returning one kind of SKU or cart item. Even if it is empty, it returns an empty one. So that's handled there. So now let's go back to the presenter and define a use case here, which is get cart item, and it should accept SKU a string type and return the model type, which is cart item. Defined. It'll throw an exception here, error here, get cart item, which we have in the cart interactor get cart item. That's it. Let's keep it as a result. Grocery in. So that's a grocery item which we need to pass. Plus we right now have it's asking for this missing param, which is cart item, which is what we will fetch right now. Let cart item is equal to self dot use case dot get cart item. So it is accepting SKUID, which we have as part of the grocery item. So you have the SKUID. So that's it being returned, and then just we will pass it here, and we just need to return this. So because it's a complex type, we need to pass the return type here, and this being, we know that there's going to be a value, so we can always do this. Let's maybe break it down so that's easier to understand. Okay, so that's compiling. So whatever we did is created the grocery list by passing got the grocery list, use that grocery list to check whether any item is already added to the cart. If yes, we just pass it so that it gets configured within the grocery cart item view model. You have this cart view model which gets configured. Even if it is like empty, it gets configured with that. And the benefit is, let's say once you update this, so within this cell, if you go back, we need to modify there. Within the configure, it is accepting a view model, cart item view model, but we don't need this anymore because we are passing a view model and it has that cart view model. So we can directly pass the view model here. Means view model dot cart view value. So that's what we are passing. So this will actually handle that configure part right now. So guess that's what I wanted to do. Even instead of this compact map, maybe it's a better idea that you can also do a for each, because this is more like a transformation. I don't know whether it's a good way to create this object, but I'm just keeping this because it's anyway going to work even with this compact map, because within this it's actually doing a call to get the cart item, and if it is existing or not, we create it, pass it to create this view model, which in turn will create our configure our controls and cells. So let's run this and see. It should show something. I think we have um, wired it end to end. You have the use case, call it use case is just calling it a database which we created anyway. I'm just running that now. We don't have anything. Looks like we can rerun and see it's adding to cart properly. So we have 2, 3 items, 4 items. All that I need to do is relaunch so that it retains those values. Okay, that's perfect. So that's what I intended to do. It's working fine. So this is one of the ways where it's more like showing off the benefits of using tuples to have the use cases defined for each and every modules that we have created. It's benefiting in a way that you can reuse your interactors. That's the only benefit I can see here. Hope you enjoyed this one. Leave your comments if there are something which you are not clearly understood, then I'll try to clarify those. Otherwise, pretty much that's it from my end. And if you need code access, you need to go to Patreon side and access it. That's pretty much from my end. Until the next one, see you soon.